So tell me about Salutogenesis, how you came to this idea.
I am just a big fan of like anime, comics, and that kind of thing. So I thought it would be really impactful to tell the story using the themes and tropes that we typically find in those types of stories, but package the message in a way that is fun for people to, interact with. I majored in psychology. I tried many different ventures and things on my own. Society is sort of advancing faster than the traditional wisdom and advice that we have been given to deal with the world. A lot of people feel the same way that I do. So I created this story to kind of have that conversation about society at scale.
How old are you?
26.
Oh, okay.
Turned 27 in 2 months.
So before we even dig into it, what kind of feedback are you looking for?
To be honest, it's just good to kind of have a conversation with people about my work. I mean, obviously I showed to my friends and things, and people that are not writers, I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool, keep going. But I don't really get the chance to talk to people who maybe have a little bit more technical know-how. So even if you think it sucks, I think best case scenario for me, I can go and just work a little harder. But even if you think it's good, I would like to kind of get into some of the specifics. Ideally, I want to make this a comic first, so that way I can get some of the concept materials and IP made, just so that I can have something tangible. But I'm already writing, I'm already on chapter 7. So I have an idea of where the story is going.
What do you mean, chapter 7?
I'm also writing a comic that goes with it that is converting into the screenplay.
Okay, let's start big picture and on that side of things, and then I think that'll inform story. Because I think this is pretty good. What is the title?
Salutogenesis.
I mean, why is that title? What is that? That doesn't mean anything.
Oh, salutogenesis is a positive psychology concept that essentially is about creating health in your life. It's the opposite of what typically we're trained to do in the West when it comes to diagnosing, whereas salutogenesis is about doing things that create health in your life, create joy and wellness, and that improves patients' overall well-being. But it also ties into the power system. If you were to roughly translate this into Japanese, the Japanese title of this would be Genki no Soza. Genki is like a chi concept. It's like ki, anything like that. Genki specifically relates to good health, Genesis being the creation of. And this isn't really in the pilot script, but as the story continues, the question, I guess a subplot, is where does the creation of Genki come from?
What do you think about everything you just said? What's your analysis of that?
I think it's a lot, but I also think that's exactly how the younger generation feels. I feel like we're kind of bombarded with all the information in the world all the time. And I feel like anytime something kind of bad happens, people are like, oh, yep, that's capitalism for you. Oh, yeah, global warming, and we're just super aware of everything.
Is the word salutogenesis used in the story, and in what way?
Probably one time to describe the creation of the monsters.
Imagine.
Yes.
What are your inspirations for this project specifically?
Naruto specifically, but then also The Matrix. I would say this is somewhere between those two.
That's funny. Wow. As kind of similar those two things are, and from similar time, I never heard somebody put those two together. That's really interesting, actually. I guess I'm going to stay on the title because I kind of stuck on it a little bit. It's a great word to make the thing stand out. It's a hard sell.
Because it doesn't directly tell you anything, right?
You know what it makes me think? Salutogenesis makes me think of some Battlefield Earth type of thing, or The Expanse, or we're fighting in space. That's what it makes me think of.
Well, I like that you go there, though.
Doesn't make me think like what this is. Doesn't make me think like magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not really trying to suggest anything, but Naruto is the character, right? And this is either Maverick's story or Kalo's story. Kalos, one of their main stories. Probably Maverick, because we start with him as a baby or as a child. And then the guy teaches him Genki. Genki?
Genki. Mm-hmm.
Genki. So it's like Salutogenesis Maverick or Maverick Book 1, Salutogenesis. Something, you know what I mean, to tie it together. To think about selling it and presenting it to someone, now you got to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
And an executive Like the longer you go on, the more they're like, oh, how do I explain it to my boss and to the marketing department? And if you're trying to sell it to people, how much do you have to explain on the Amazon page for somebody to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for them to get it. So it could also be a matter of just making the explanation, a couple sentences, so somebody can just read it and be like, oh, wow, I want to read more. You want to read more.
Oh, so like a log line?
No, not a log line. Not a log line. This would be like in the description of it, you know? So you'd have
Gotcha.
like the title, the log line, then description, you know, and it might not even be the first sentence in the description. It'd be like, this is a story, Maverick was young, blah, 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 blah. Because Salutogenesis, which is the return to health, you know what I mean? Like, this would be like in the description or off a question that a rep or an executive might ask, you know? So you watch a lot of anime, I'm asking? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I watch a decent amount, like not as much now as an adult, but definitely growing up, it was a strong like foundation for me. I definitely liked a lot of the fighting anime and that sort of thing, but I also just love sci-fi in general. So I definitely wanted a blend of that, of the fighting fantasy from anime, but also the science fiction sort of big questions about the world.
So in your mind, is this like a American anime?
Yes.
I guess we have what? Superhero cartoons, right? Like a Marvel
Yeah.
type of thing, you know? But I think anime still, in people's minds, is its own category. That's what this feels like. So that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure that's what you were thinking, you know? You have these big ideas about what this says about society. What stands out in this story? What can I find here that I can't find in any other story?
The audacity to ask what I
Well,
think is the biggest. No.
look, let me help you out here.
Mm-hmm.
Attack on Titan. You seen that?
Mm-hmm.
What do we?
Mm-hmm.
What's in that that's not in any other story?
Giant monsters or giant people.
human titans or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon is catching them all. Naruto is a martial art. He's trying to be the best, right?
Trying to be like the Hokage, but yeah, they all try to be the best.
You know, One Piece is pirates.
Well, I would say Salutogenesis is like your favorite monster movie from two perspectives. You get the ground perspective of the people that are fighting the zombies or Godzilla or whatever the monster is. But you also get the political drama of the people making the decisions about the monsters and how that would go. For me and my friends, like growing up, we always, before school every morning used to say, where would we go if the zombie apocalypse broke out or, whatever happened. And I think this story, the fun in it is you get to see how the normal people of society deal with the monsters. And again, how the government would deal with the monsters with all of the resources at their fingertips.
What do you think about that?
I haven't seen it anywhere else.
What questions did you have? Let's get to those.
I was going to ask you to rate my log line just in terms of the 3 superpowered mercenaries crossing a frontier infested with giant bug demons. Is that like something that would make you stop and go, oh, check that out?
Well, it doesn't really mention just magic, you know? That's a really big part of your script. And right now, that's the thing that, like, it's not even that they're bug demons. Well, I guess the demon part covers it, right? The demon part covers that but there's so much magic in it. I think magic is like the main thing here. You know, superpowered mercenaries, but but it's all magic, right? Like they're not Superman or Spider-Man. And everybody has the same magic, more or less. So who has access to this magic? Is it everybody or just people that you have to do the training? 3 magically trained mercenaries?
That's a good idea.
Because I think you want the magic in here. And maybe the fact that only, something about the demons can only be stopped by magic, or it could use some more specificity. It's like a fun thing that you would say like your friends right now, but it's not really a thing that's like going to hook me to be like, oh yeah, man, that's tight. That's tight, you know? But if I ask you about it, you'll explain it in a way I'm like, oh yeah, that's tight. But log lines are also hard. I got to teach a class this week. The first assignment is log lines, and I don't even know really how to teach log lines. They're very difficult.
But I like getting the second perspective on it though, because I know the magic is important, but having read the script and you emphasizing how important the magic is kind of tells me that, yeah, that should be more of a selling point whenever I mention it to other people.
I even think at the top, demons infested every corner of the world. I'm actually looking at the panels one, not the script, the panels one. It's a good first page, but it's a world of magic, and I just think that that's the thing. Even if there's other magic things out there, your version and use of magic is what's gonna set you apart. Even how the magic manifests in good and evil. These demons should stand out more. I shouldn't feel like, unless you were doing a really meta thing, I shouldn't feel like I see these demons in another property. You know what I mean? Are they really big? Make yours bigger, or make yours smaller. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just an example of a way of thinking, but yours are more vicious, or they move slower, but they cause more damage, or yours are super fast, but something that's these demons are only Salutogenesis demons,
Mm-hmm. Well, they're all bugs. They're all insects, caterpillars, moths, that kind of thing. And they all, right now they're isolated, but as the story kind of ratchets up the tension, they'll start coming out in swarms.
It's just kind of okay, they're bugs. If you said they're 30-foot bugs, you're like, the fuck? You know what I mean? Now I'm like, how is that? Or I don't know. There's other things. I just try to throw out an extreme example that you probably wouldn't use, just to kind of give you an idea.
Oh, no, but I do use something like that. I think maybe I didn't mention it, but I thought in the script there was one that's a bug the size of a rhino or an elephant or something. And it starts rampaging.
That's big
they
for
are
a
all
bug.
Giant.
That's big for a bug. That's not big for a demon. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
I mean, it's huge for a bug. That's just a ginormous bug. But then the rhino could just be a demon, or it's a rhino that was bit by it. But you start thinking oh, was this an animal Spider-Man thing? Where the bugs bit bigger animals and became, I don't know. I don't want to I'm just telling you in terms of a market perspective, which a lot of times people will say it's an industry perspective or a vet in the industry perspective, but it's really people are coming from, it's well, what's going to help you sell? What's going to help you get eyes on it even beyond, sell either to the public or to a studio, right? It's partly specificity and also the uniqueness. Okay, so here's another part that could even adjust what you're thinking. So you got to keep in mind you're 26, okay? That, and understand that that's young. I don't know what all's going on in life, but you have to understand that that's young. And I know that's hard. I was 26 once. I'm 40. I've been 26. And you feel like you got to do it. It's got to happen now. I understand. I understand this. You don't have time. You have time. You have to just accept that deep down somewhere. Even if you reject it on the surface, just take it in and let it soak into your DNA. 26 is young. You have time. That being said, especially since you're not an artist and you don't have a brother that's an artist or a best friend who's doing all these drawings for you, that you guys are collaborating on this, think about writing a novel if you haven't already.
Why do you say a novel?
Just, it's easier in every respect to get it to people. And the novel can become a comic and become an animated series in the same way. And then it's even easier to write those scenes because you had to write so many more details and internality in the novel. But just take a couple hours one day and go on Amazon and look up, not even manga, novelizations or action fantasy novels for young adults. And just go through those and see what's out there. Because you'll find things that you never heard of, but there's 10 books. And you'll look up the author and you'll get the picture from the author, however they present themselves, that they're doing very well, that things are actually great for them. It's extremely hard to get a comic made. It's really hard to pitch to these companies because they're getting pitches all the time. They kind of get tired of it. But even the pitch you have to make 5-6 pages with an artist
Mhm.
just to pitch. And a lot of times you have to pitch as an artist, writer combo. You definitely can't just submit a script for all the major companies. Yeah, you've probably looked up a bunch of them too. Like, it's extremely hard, and then the chances of you getting read, without any substantial credits or it being handed to them by an agent or something. And you might get an agent later. Like I said, I don't know everything you're doing, but it's such an uphill climb. And I'm in the industry, and it's more than daunting to me to even think about. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody that's just started a comic like that. You know what I mean? Or actually, people I do, they self-financed. They had a little more money. They were able to hire some artists. So as much as that sucks, it's not really about telling you what to do or not to do. It's just expanding your perspective on what's possible, and hopefully that steers you in a direction that works best for you. And an animated show is even harder, especially if you haven't been able to do the comic first or the novel first. And we all know we're in the IP era, so they're going to want to see proof of concept or proof of market viability from the product. That's just the way. That's just the facts.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that's a lot of the struggle I have been going through and just trying to get this made. But I'm slowly chipping away. I tell myself I have considered doing the novel thing, but again, I also just want to lock in some of how the characters look and a lot of these concepts that I have. And it's so inspired from, just other manga and comic books and stuff that, I think doing it in a comic will really do it justice. But I also have the option of doing a light novel where it's sort of a comic and sort of a novel.
No. That's also a great idea. If you can get that, it's
Yeah.
really what can you accomplish. You know what I mean? And these are the obstacles to each thing. With like a TV show being the hardest, a comic by a publisher is here, an indie publisher is like maybe same level because it's harder to get in touch with them. A novel is like a lower barrier interest. A light novel is like, you know what I mean? Like it's all, but they all kind of take the same amount of time. So it's like, but they don't take the same amount of money. Selling to a TV show takes no money, but it's the hardest one to do. Selling to a established comic producer takes some money because you got to hire the artists and like the letterers and stuff to do even the 6 pages or the first issue or whatever you can get done. What do the characters look like? Are the characters black? You're black. I'm black. We're black. The characters are black.
So Maverick and Amani are black. Kalos is like unspecified.
So this is going to be a thing because everything when we're black is a thing, right?
2 or more black people make it a black thing.
No,
right?
no. That's not really the problem. The issue is we have a black thing. You're not talking about Africa. So how do you make that make sense?
I don't. Just in the sense that
I'm not saying you should talk about Africa.
Yeah.
But
no,
how do
I
you
totally
make that
know
make
where
sense
you're
to the audience? Yeah.
I know, especially in the anime community, probably raises or ruffles a couple feathers, but the idea that the characters are black, like in skin, they have like traits like Omani is kind of more Caribbean, more island descent, even though there is no, in this version of Earth, there's no Africa, there's no United States, there's no transatlantic slave trade to make it all happen. In a fantasy world, I don't think they're going to see them as any different from being black anyway. So I could just make them culturally black, if that makes sense. And I think I kind of trust my readers enough to fill in the gap.
It's just if it's set on Earth and you're not defining the time period, it just creates this confusion. And I don't know why all the time these things happen. I don't know why people are like that, but it just does, even among black people. So that may even be more of a question to think about later on. You don't have to address that in any way other than you could say set a long time ago or on the planet Genesis that's like Earth but different, these kind of things, just to take people's minds away from it, And then if they're culturally black, you want to hint at that more. I think it's in here a little bit, but you kind of hint at that more even in the pilot, like in the way they talk or the references or jokes they make, you know?
I was going to ask, in terms of, since we're talking about the characters, are their motivations clear in the pilot to you? That was one of the concerns I did have.
I want to go back to the scripts for a second, off of the storyboards. I mean, Maverick is fine, for sure. He watched his parents die, and he's a soldier of fortune, not a mercenary. Very important.
Mm-hmm.
Don Stevie is like, fortune means money, not fate. That's great. And she's like, I just don't want you at the beginning. I just don't want you taking credit for it. I'll take the money, but I can't also give up the credit. And that's a great juxtaposition of them where he's like, I'm fighting for something bigger. And she's like, I'm fighting for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, you guys got a lot of rules for mercenaries. You know, that's a great like triangle there. He's like, this is what a mercenary is. He's like, I'm not a mercenary, I'm a soldier of fortune. She's like, well, I don't care what you call me, just make sure that I'm known, you know. That's, and then somebody else later, it probably is just a mercenary who's a mercenary. Kalos, I just kind of saw Kalos as like a scared younger teen. So I don't know what Kalos, and maybe you're reading through it again would tell me. You probably have it in here, but it didn't stay with me what Kalos's kind of story is here.
Yeah, he was the one I had the most concern about, just simply because I don't think his motivation is immediately clear in the pilot. But I think it's kind of interesting that at the beginning of the call mentioned whether the main character was Maverick or Kalos, because I kind of think Kalos, for lack of a better term, is almost like the point of view character here, where he's kind of watching all of this happen. So he's more functional here than he is like an active protagonist in the story. But then I kind of turn it around at the end where I kind of have him take control, and that kind of becomes what the story is about as he goes throughout what would be the season, or his character arc is him kind of learning what that control means. And here, I know it doesn't really pop out that much, but I was kind of hoping, again, maybe it comes across towards his end where he turns on Don Stevie and all that.
It kind of is just, it doesn't really stand out. It's like a turn kind of for the sake of it, of the story, or to let us know that he's a good guy in the terms of good versus evil of the story, but it doesn't really, I think that's what made me wonder if it was actually his story, because it's like, oh, is it about him gaining the power and learning the power, and Maverick's kind of his mentor, or somebody that he ends up looking up to, or is it like an Avatar thing where he has the power and doesn't want to use it? Where does the Genki come from? What's the story of the Genki?
So we're thinking about this like if we were in like a writing room, right? There's a macrocosm and the microcosm. And the macrocosm is the people at the top that are like government officials, that kind of thing. Like I said, the people that have all the resources and all the information. And then there's the people that just kind of live their lives and get by on their day to day. So the story from up high, as you could call it, from Apollo Bond himself, is that these bugs came about and he brought Genki to the world and gave everybody this magic to fight it. In reality, what they come to learn is that in a society not dissimilar from our current society, Apollo Bond was like an explorer who went out into space and discovered these alien ruins, and it like taught him the source code to reality. That I'm still kind of workshopping, but to make a long story short, however I have to get there, Genki is essentially just the power to warp reality. The source code, again, kind of like the Matrix, to alter reality as you see fit. So it's a universal magic system, and people who practice it and work with it and learn it, they are essentially learning to manipulate the universe, but nobody has the full picture of the information to just totally like break the system, because again, people are mostly just kind of using it to get by, you know, make a couple bucks or learn a trade, that, but nobody other than Apollo Bond knows how to really like go God mode with it.
Oh, like regular people are using it just every day?
Well, if they practice it, they can. It's universal in the sense that everyone can use it, but again, it's like something you have to learn and practice.
Yeah.
But there's nothing physically stopping anybody from putting that work in.
Yeah, I think usually only a few people have access to the power, whatever the power is in the story, right? There's always an element of the training that needs to be done. But like in Star Wars, everybody's not force sensitive. So that's unique, that this land of magic, this world of magic, where it's accessible to everyone. But if you train and how you train, I'm guessing, depends on, or is determines how powerful you are, or determines your standing in the world in some way. So I think just think about, even in this script, making that more clear. Okay, looking at the first page, where did the demons come from?
The demons,
Yeah.
like what the story is told to the like everyday folks, or the actual like story.
Well,
So the story that's told to the civilians, I'll just call them, right, is that the demons are just primordial. They've been here since the beginning of time, and Vaughn brought Genki to the world to help us conquer the demons. The actual story is that when Vaughn started abusing his use of Genki and everyone else in the world started overusing it, pretty much like a bug in a computer system, they're almost like errors in the fact that like the universe has now become open source, and the fact that everyone's manipulating it.
now I think we're getting into it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody alive in this world has always known demons.
Yes.
So they think demons are just a way of life,
Yes.
a natural occurrence that Apollo Vaughn found a way to defeat.
Yes.
And do they think that humans just lived in fear of these demons for centuries until Apollo Vaughn came?
Yes. And to your point earlier about not really knowing the time period, it's sort of anachronistic in the sense that there are large pockets of the world that I call the frontier that are pretty much uncivilized, because humans have not been able to, for large amounts of time, go out and civilize them. So the future
because
is
of the demons.
Yes. There's some parts where when there are people that are high status societies that have lots of people who can use it and lots of protection against the demons, that are far more in the future, versus other societies that maybe don't have as many people that can help protect them against the demons. So the future is just unevenly distributed.
So how long ago was Apollo Vaughn?
3,000-ish years ago, and he's using Genki to extend his life.
So everybody knows Apollo Vaughn is still alive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. Huh. So do people like worship him?
Mm-hmm. In a sense, he's like a god king. So he actually has real political power, but he also has like cultural power.
It's got to be mentioned more in this script, and not in any way that like a whole new conversation, but just like as an aspiration, as people do things, like, or even as an exclamation when they're using magic or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't need to, but yeah, the more you can build him up when you eventually tear down his mythology, the stronger that'll be. The more you can build up how much people believe in him or believe that he was a savior. So if you're like using Genki and you're like, by the Lord Apollo Vaughn, you know what I mean? as you're using it, then it's like, oh man, they think this guy is, then it's really like the Jesus Christ parable. Like the source code and the bug, and either bugs in the code kind of, that and the magic really are the most standout talking points. Yeah. So even when talking about it, like you could tell somebody Genki is the source code of life. It's the magic to be able to manipulate your reality. And that's what our characters are going to find out, over the course of the journey, because that's different than just like there's magic from an ancient scroll or magic from studying the history of magic. This is like magic with a definitive purpose and existence that is really saying something about kind of the nature of reality. Yeah. So think about that, how to make that clear, I guess, or hint at it a little more. I know it's there, but there's just like, things just have to be a little bit more present than you think they do, which, like you said, if we're talking like a writer's room, it's more clear. When you're with yourself, you're just in your head and you're like, this makes sense. And then someone else reads it and they're like, what was this? And you're like, oh, it's pretty clear in the writing, but it's just not, because half of the writing is in your head.
Gotcha.
And you got to either say it out loud or, have people read it and ask them questions. Did you know with the Genki? You know what I mean? You got to ask them specific questions. The writing is pretty good. It's a good, interesting first episode, chapter. I think in terms of series and overall, it's just what makes this stand out over somebody else's who's a good first episode, especially in comics or in animation, where there are just so many options and you can't be differentiated like you can in live action. by the style or the actor. With animation, there's only so many different animation styles. And when you're not an artist creating your own style with your own unique brain, that you have your own unique pen, then people just are going to see it one or two ways. Same kind of with comics, because there's only so many comic book styles, and they'll be different, but you're like, oh, this is a lot like this, or these are a lot like these, like there's a similarity. And having short, like to the point explanations for things, because if that works, you have plenty of time to explain it later. You know what I mean? You can always get into a long conversation about it. Even when you're talking to an artist, just being able to be like, this is this, and seeing what that triggers for them is the more you talk, the more they're already dreaming of how to draw it. So you don't want them to trail off on you,
That approach, though, does that structure make sense in terms of the ground level being the A plot and then the bigger kind of questions being the B plot of them figuring this out and kind of deconstructing, as you said, the myth of Vaughn?
That seems fine. Or, easy to understand,
Yeah, and I wanted to focus more on the A plot because we spend more time with these characters in the pilot, but none of the B plot is present yet. And I didn't know if that takes away from that, but it would just be too much going on all in the pilot for a 22-minute.
Also, for a half-hour show, you have a little page. You have page leeway, so 22 is actually pretty short of a page count.
Okay.
But, like 25, 26, you can get up to 30, really. Most like half-hour shows go up to about 30 pages of scripts. It's not that important. It'll all change. If you were making a show, it would change over the course of the writer's room and all the animation and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just to let you know you're not that constrained.
Okay. I mean, it would still be a lot, even if I added 10 more pages. But
10 more would be a lot. 5 more, okay. 10 more, okay.
I mean, it would be probably, again, even more than 10 pages. That takes up a big chunk of the second chapter. But again, I just wanted to kind of get have you check the temperature on that just to kind of see, if it makes sense if I proceed with just the A plot for the pilot and then introduce the B plot as the story progresses.
Yeah. I would say don't even dwell on that right now. Just write it out the way that feels right. You'll get you'll get feedback and stuff later. But also say too, which is tough, you don't necessarily, as far as process goes, you don't have to have so much written at a presentable level. Does that make sense?
Explain a little more for me.
So you have the first script, and the first script is what you would send out to somebody. And a second script is kind of is project dependent, but you'll never send more than 2 ahead of time to anybody. You see what I'm saying? Even if you're making a comic, you're not just going to be like, I got these 10 issues ready to go. You got to still go one by one. It's definitely not a bad idea to have the series thought out that far and written maybe in prose or short paragraphs up to 10 or 12 episodes or issues. But you don't have to, if it feels right, natural, you obviously write as much as you want. But if you get stuck or you're feeling like it's heavy, you don't have to write all that much out, because that's not going to help you get it. It's not going to help you get it made in any way. So just, that's about kind of more about taking care of yourself and taking some of the pressure off, rather than it is this isn't necessary. Well, whatever you write is what's necessary. I don't know. Everybody's going to have a different story, and the thing is going to get together a different way. I know how heavy it can feel sometimes. You're like, I got to finish this much. And it's you actually are killing yourself doing a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely helps because, again, it's been kind of a tumultuous process. I mean, as you know, again, it's hard to pitch as just the writer without an artist. So, like I said, in the time that I have been working on this, instead of twiddling my fingers, I figured, and it really helps me think about the big picture when I kind of write. But I also don't want to feel like I'm responsible for writing 20 scripts, the whole season out before anybody has read it,
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's buying a season of TV. They're buying an idea to put together a room for you to write it, And then the notes you would get on the first one are going to affect what you've already done on the second one. So everything is getting revised in extra time anyway, And then if you do a comic, then you have to kind of rewrite it for the page, you know?
Yeah.
Like the end of each page is kind of like leads to the next one, and then a splash page, and then you kind of have to you have to rewrite it in comic book format, you know? Even different
Yeah.
from the storyboards that you have, you know? Okay, yeah. I think that's all I got, man.
Well, I appreciate you so much, not only just for giving it a read, but again, your notes are extremely helpful. I got a whole page of everything that we talked about. Yeah, again, it's just kind of good to chop it up with someone who really knows what they're talking about.
Sure, we'll talk again some point. But best of luck.
Thank you. Take
Cool, man.
care.
Take
Stay
care.
safe.
For sure. Later, man.
All right. Peace out.